Hey everybody, thank you for downloading this episode of We Got This with Mark and Hal. I am Hal, and if you want to help the show, you know the drill by now. Go to Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Tell other people what you love about the show so they can fall in love too, and we can get that merch. But for now, please enjoy this episode of We Got This with Mark and Hal.
And I'm Mark.
Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all.
Best John Hughes movie.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Hal, we're in the same room again.
We did it.
We did
You
it.
put your hand up. I thought you wanted to high five.
I'll high five you. Yeah, you hear that? That's the sound of Hal and I not doing this across the internet.
Yeah, can't do that over an ISDN. We don't have an ISDN line.
No, come on. What are we fancy?
Yeah.
No.
Over 2 internet connections.
Yeah, exactly. Over a Wi-Fi that you say a little prayer before you turn it on.
How bad is the internet in Montreal?
Actually, oh man. So I always, whenever I go to a place where there's Wi-Fi, the first thing I do, I have the app, and I know the website. It's in my browser permanently,
Yeah.
speedtest.net.
Sure.
Every time. Just to see what I can get away with doing. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to be sitting in like a cafe or something and I'm going to be working, I'm like, all right, how much work can I actually get done? I'll tell you this, in New York City, Starbucks has the best.
Really?
Starbucks runs at like 30 to 40 megabits.
Wow, that's really good.
My apartment here, this runs at about, because it's like a apartment, like I guess they're designed to be, there's not a million people on it. It's just me on it, runs at about, 80, which is nice.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's huge. I was real excited when I moved into this place and I was like, oh, fingers crossed. Let's see how the Wi-Fi does.
When you, where you lived prior to this, had been the home of Tommy Hackey, our
Yes.
guest, who is an engineering wizard. And how fast?
No, that's Juliana's place.
Right, but you were there for a while
I was
as well.
staying there for a bit, yeah.
But he had wired the internet
Yeah.
when he was there. How fast was
He's
it?
an engineer.
Yeah.
It was 150. So I got to my place in Montreal and, he's like, here's the Wi-Fi password. And I sat down. I was like, I was fully prepared for it to be like, oh, here's going to come up like 6 megs a second.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. 252.
What is that in US?
Oh yeah. It's the metric system there.
It's only 10.
Yeah.
right?
It's only 10.
Oh, it's not that fast.
It's
Sorry.
the fastest internet I've ever seen in my life.
That's incredible.
I was so excited. I feel like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I want to hear what you think.
I feel like, I've heard this elsewhere that other countries and other places, like the big corporations that run telecom here, have kind of, worked with each other to keep things not crazy great.
They're like choking bandwidth.
Yeah, they choke bandwidth. They keep the prices high. When we were in France, they were like, oh yeah, a cell phone in France is $20 a month for everything. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, oh yeah, in the United States, you guys just pay way too much for it. And I'm wondering if it's that way in Canada, that they're like, no, that's average Wi-Fi. Like, what is this baloney that I got, Spectrum?
Everything here is very fast. I don't know what your problem is. What's wrong with your internet?
What country do you think I live in now?
You know, the land of Norway.
Are you?
Hello, I'm from Montreal, Norway. How you doing over here? We speak French some of the time, but other times we speak our own language, which is Norse.
At first I thought you were doing Meepos.
Now we do the dance of joy.
I don't remember how the song went. Hey. Any dance that ends with Mark Lynn Baker jumping into your arms is the greatest dance in the world. Like,
asked and answered.
Yeah, asked and answered. That should be like required to play at every wedding, and Mark Lynn Baker has to go to the wedding, and then he's like, okay, it's time for the dance of joy, and then he jumps into the bride's arms.
And if he lands properly, that's 7 years good luck.
I'm a huge Mark Linn-Baker fan.
Sure, he's great.
I saw him on Broadway, and boy, is he good.
People only know of him as Cousin Larry, or mostly know of him as Cousin Larry.
But he's a legendary Broadway star.
Yes. Wasn't he in the film version of My Favorite Year?
I'm not sure. He was in I don't know. I never saw that. He was in the film version of Noises Off.
He was in Noises Off,
as Tim.
Great in that.
Brilliant.
He was in, I don't know if it was My Favorite Year. He was in another like Broadway adaptation, like another, just a brilliant.
One of the big ones.
Brilliant performer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Mark Linn-Baker.
But we are here to talk about films.
We are. The films of John Hughes.
Yes, this was suggested by Colette Fafard.
Thank you very much, Colette. This is very exciting because I know we're both big John Hughes fans.
We are.
What was your, did you have, because we're roughly the same age. We had that childhood. We
did.
had a John Hughes childhood.
The first John Hughes movie that I saw in a theater was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which I saw, my parents and I went to see 2 movies that day. We saw Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then we went to see Back to School. I don't remember the order, but they were 2 different theaters.
Right.
And in between, because it was summertime.
Is Back to School an R-rated movie?
It is an R-rated movie.
And you were a little kid.
I was a little kid. I was 9.
Come on, Bill.
It was Sheila too. They share the blame.
Yeah, they share the blame of taking a 9-year-old to an R-rated Rodney Dangerfield movie.
We went to toss a frisbee around
in between the
movies. We got to the second movie theater early. By the way, both of those movies have Twist and Shout in it, which is odd to see them both in one day. But I threw the frisbee into my mom's face, which is not the first time I'd injured her with sporting equipment.
What was the first time?
We went to mini golf, and I was like, I'm gonna cock back on this like I'm really swinging like at a golf ball. And when I cocked back, I hit my mother in the face with the golf club.
You know what's funny? I forgot who it was. One of my brother's buddies did that to him when they were kids. And he had like a little Charlie Manson X in the middle of his forehead for a little while.
Yeah, I wasn't strong enough to do any permanent damage to my mother.
That's good.
Good thing.
You didn't like knock her to the ground, America's Funniest Videos style.
No, she was very lucky that she was raising a weakling. Couldn't really do any damage, even with a golf club. Those things are heavy. Those mini golf.
You posted a lovely photo of you and your mom on the internet the other day, and there's something about that photo I want to ask you about, Hal.
The haircut?
Yeah, man.
I don't remember if it was around this time.
It looks like the haircut that Robert Downey Jr. would have gotten for one of these 80s movies and then looked in the mirror and gone, it's a little much, guys.
This had to be, I think I was like 17 years old and I wanted long hair. But I had really long bangs. I'd had longer hair, but it got cut by a girl I had a crush on. She cut my bangs with kid scissors. Then I got a whole haircut. So I had a lot of weird hair stuff. And at that point I was like, I'm going to grow super long bangs. My bangs were down to my chin.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, this is really cool.
Sure. Yeah, this was roughly, Eddie Furlong, Terminator 2 era.
Yeah, a little later.
When the crazy long bangs were in.
Yeah, Nirvana, like early, like
sure.
Kurt Cobain with the longer hair. Eddie, like everybody had grungier kind of hair. I don't even know if I was cool enough for that as much as like, I'm just going to grow my hair long because I like it like this.
You're lucky, being Jewish, not having the crazy curly hair. Cause I'm Italian and if I tried to grow my hair long, I did on a few occasions I tried to grow my hair long as a kid, and I just got crazy little Italian fro.
When you do it now for a job, you look like Carmine Laverne and Shirley. You just have like a big poof.
Oh yeah, when I did the play where I played Charles Dickens,
yes.
And I had this I was like, I'm just gonna let my hair grow, and it's the crazy longest my hair has ever been.
That's the longest your hair ever?
In the front. I did have a mullet back in the day.
Sure, we all did.
Sure. But my mullet even was like curly. It would curl up. Like when it was wet, it came down to like as far down as I can reach, from overhand on my back.
Okay.
But when it was not wet, it was just like it was like somebody had just glued a series of brown koosh balls to the back of my neck. It was the strangest haircut.
But not as weird as my, like, odd. It looked like I put a wig on the wrong way.
Like you put a mullet wig on backwards.
Yeah. I was like, is this how you do it? Is this how you have long hair?
Oh my God.
But she also had a 90s haircut. It's not like she was getting away, like, guilt-free in that one.
No. She had some, look, everybody, was that your weirdest phase?
I mean, I had a bowl cut when I was very little, but I was very little. Yeah, well, what happened later, the next year we did The Miser. That was our spring play. And I was Cléante, the one of the young suitors. Mm-hmm. And we set it in the 19th century or early 20th. So I had spit
Sure.
curls.
Cause you can't do a classical, restoration work of literature or a Shakespeare play or any old thing and just have it be that time.
No.
The costumes are very expensive.
Exactly. So I've got like spats on, I've got the whole deal, and we trained my hair into spit curls.
Ooh.
So my hair still curls that way. If it grows out a little bit, it curls into a little
From
spit
that
curls.
show?
Yeah. Like a little, like, it vaguely moves in that direction. It's not like perfect
Oh my God.
spit curls anymore. But that was my first, John Hughes. It was Ferris Bueller. What about you?
I think my first, for me, I was never growing up into, I didn't have that 16 Candles Breakfast Club, like Brat Pack run, which I'm surprised looking at this. Did he have anything to do with Pretty in Pink? Was that not him?
I think maybe he produced that.
Oh, okay. Because I have his IMDb page.
He might have been involved in it. If not, it's one of those movies that you think that's not a John Hughes film.
Exactly. Like that era, you think of all of those as being John Hughes movies.
Right.
But it was not. It was, 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club were his. But I came to The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles much later. Right. I think it was the mid-90s when I saw those, when I was old enough to understand them.
Yeah. He wrote Pretty in Pink, but did not direct it.
Gotcha. That's what it was. But yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, was an early one for me. Mm-hmm. And I loved Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was the world's coolest person to me.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the whole point of that movie is the world's coolest kid, who is just, everyone loves him and he's kind to everybody. He's not like cool cause he's a jerk. He's cool cause he's just great.
Yeah. He's smart.
Yeah.
He's Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. But I think my first one that I actually saw before that was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Sure.
And, oh man, that's going to be a tough one to beat for me. Like, just for me personally, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is such a perfect movie. The two lead characters in it, played by Steve Martin and John Candy. John Candy, his monologue, I like me. My wife likes me.
Right.
That monologue still breaks my heart. So it was one of the first times in a movie that I remember, my heart breaking for the lead characters and not just laughing the whole time.
Sure.
It reminded me that a movie could raise the stakes just by making you fall in love with the characters. And I think that's what John Hughes did so well, was just write amazing characters. I mean,
yeah.
Look at Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name, his best friend. Cameron, thank you. Cameron is, like, every character is drawn so perfectly.
Yeah.
And Cameron's just sitting there going, I'll go. That is like 2 words repeated over and over again become this character.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a depth. I think to everything that he does. He balances comedy and drama really, really well. The like obscenely, ridiculously cartoony with grounded moments that everybody can relate to. I mean, even Home Alone, what
was his involvement in Home Alone? Did he write it?
He wrote Home Alone.
And Chris Columbus directed it, right?
Chris Columbus directed it.
Great.
But I think he wrote it. Did he write it?
He did write it, yeah.
Yes, of course. All right. He directed 1, 2, 3,
he only directed
4,
8 movies.
5, yeah. So I'm going to say the 8 movies. Then I think we should go through, because here's the thing. We were talking about this earlier, is it's hard to, like, he wrote Vacation. He wrote the short story it was based on for the Lampoon, and then it eventually became that movie.
He wrote Home Alone. He wrote Christmas Vacation.
Yes. Like, prodigious writer.
So,
is there a movie he wrote that can beat any of these 8 films?
I think that's what's going to be fun to figure out. Now, also, is there a movie that Edmond Dantes wrote?
Yeah.
That can beat either?
Drop some knowledge.
Okay. So, late in his career, John Hughes was doing prolific, amounts of writing, and not all of the things that he wrote were necessarily great. And when it got to the point or that he did not think they were going to be great. So when he would lend his hand to something, and he did not want it to be considered a John Hughes thing, then he wrote it under the pseudonym Edmond Dantes, which I found out not from reading, from Wikipedia, that Edmond Dantes is, because I am not well read.
Sure.
Is the main character in The Count of Monte Cristo, which is great that it is an alias. The Count of Monte Cristo is an alias, and his alias was the character's actual name from The Count of Monte Cristo.
Very clever.
So
Classic John Hughes.
Classic John Hughes. That includes such classics as, Beethoven.
Mm-hmm.
And, Drill Bit Taylor.
Okay.
Made in Manhattan.
Sure.
Yeah, some stuff that's not going to win.
Here's what I suggest we do. Let's take what is it?
One Edmond Dantes.
Let's also pick one movie that he either produced or wrote but did not direct.
Mm-hmm.
And then
one of his directed.
Let's pick one of his directed, and we'll see. So I think for the Edmond Dantes, it's got to be Beethoven.
It's got to be Beethoven. Yeah. Beethoven's really fun. It's a fun movie.
Sure.
It's Charles Grodin, being grumpy with a hilarious dog. Look, there's a reason they made 5 of these. No, wait, 6, 7 of them.
Is there a reason?
It goes up through Beethoven's 5th, and then there was Beethoven's Christmas Adventure and Beethoven's Treasure Tale.
Do you really, with T-A-I-L?
Of course. Now, these are just, those actually, to be fair, those he did not, write. Those were just based on original characters.
Sure.
By Edmond Dantes.
He only wishes he wrote Treasure Tale.
Yeah.
Do you think, Mark, are you telling me, in front of these microphones and everyone, that you think the reason why they made a bunch of Beethoven movies is because the first one was so good?
No,
they were like, we can't stop here.
Well, I thought it was a good movie. It's a good family movie.
I remember it being fine. I cannot tell you much else about it.
All right.
Who else? Charles Grodin's in it. Who else? A Saint Bernard.
Charles Grodin, a big Saint Bernard. Let's see who else is in Beethoven.
It feels like the kind of movie like Lily Tomlin's also in this.
It is. Oh, Bonnie Hunt.
Bonnie Hunt.
The woman who got me my start in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And
great Bonnie Hunt.
One of the kindest people in show business.
And hilarious.
Yeah, and really, aside from being super kind, she's hilariously funny. Oliver Platt, Stanley Tucci, David Duchovny, Patricia Heaton. Like, it's got a good cast.
Look, that's a great cast. And we'll take that movie, and it can sit in a ratty cigar box.
Yeah.
That we toss into a donation pile.
Aww.
Later. Now let's go to movies he produced or wrote, but did not direct.
Okay. I'm going to give you just some of the, give you some greatest
Give me the hits.
Because there are some ones that are really surprising that I did not realize that John Hughes wrote.
It occurred to me, by the way, when you said he did Vacation and Christmas Vacation, that we need to do a best vacation movie at some point.
Yeah. And it's just going to be a battle between Vacation and Christmas Vacation. And we might do that right here and right now.
No, we won't. We will talk about European Vacation. We'll talk about it.
European Vacation, I watched again about 6 months ago. And I went, I loved this movie as a kid.
Pig in a poke.
It's pretty bad.
Listen, we'll deal with this later.
All
that
right.
will not have you besmirch Amy Heckerling.
All right. Here are some movies that he wrote but did not direct.
Okay.
I'm only going to give you the big ones.
Sure.
And then there are really only a couple of contenders in here, I think.
Okay.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Sure.
Which was based on a short story that he wrote when he was working at the National Lampoon, back when the National Lampoon had an epic writing staff.
Yes.
It was a short story called Vacation 58, that became the movie National Lampoon's Vacation. He also wrote Mr. Mom.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote Pretty in Pink.
Yep.
Now I'm not sure. I'm just with this list I'm looking at is the movies that he wrote. Some of these may also be ones that he directed.
You
So you pull up.
I will tell you. I
I
have that list.
Pretty in Pink. Let's see. She's having a baby. He directed.
He did direct that. Yes.
Some Kind of Wonderful.
Did he direct that? No.
Uncle Buck.
He did not direct that.
Uncle Buck, The Great Outdoors. I loved that movie.
Oh, no, he did direct Uncle
He directed
Buck.
Uncle Buck.
He did direct
The
Uncle
Great
Buck.
Outdoors, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yes.
This one's going to be hard to beat. Home Alone.
Can't beat Home Alone.
It might.
You can't.
It's so good.
You can't.
This won't be the first time we've talked about Home Alone on the show because we had it in our Christmas movies episode.
True. It's a flawless movie.
It is.
And it actually has a lot of the hallmarks of a great John Hughes film with the cartooniness of a Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. So it was kind of a perfect
film.
marriage. And it did have that heart with the old man next door.
Yes.
He also wrote Career Opportunities.
Oh, I love that movie. I had a big crush on Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah,
back
that's
in the day.
and Frank Whaley was the other guy in it.
Yes, he was.
And it was that was the
and Dermot Mulroney was
trapped in a mall overnight. That was
in a Target.
or in a Target, which is a hilarious, fun premise.
She sneaks into a Target and he is working there.
Gotcha. Dutch, the Ed O'Neill classic.
I love Dutch. Dutch was supposed to be Ed O'Neill's vehicle out of, like, into stardom from, not that he was leaving Married with Children, but like
From TV to movies.
He was Al Bundy.
Yeah.
He was only Al Bundy. This movie, he's so good. It's such a good nuanced performance. Again, hits all the emotional notes of a really good John Hughes film. A young Ethan Embry is fantastic.
Yeah.
But ultimately he couldn't get out of the gravitational pull of Married with Children.
Yeah, because that's one of the all-time and he finally did it with Modern Family.
Yes. Yes, he did.
So we also have Dennis the Menace, Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, the redo with Mara, with our friend Mara.
With our friend Mara, which is, it's not as good as the first one.
It's hard to beat the original.
It's hard to beat the original. It is a very, very, very sugary sweet movie.
Yes.
Like they had gauze over the lens the whole time. Like the whole thing is, yeah. It's like they looked at a Hallmark movie and were like, "Oh, these are a little gritty." But I still watch it every year.
Sure.
And I love it. He wrote Home Alone 3, of course.
Sure.
101 Dalmatians.
The live action
101 Dalmatians.
with the late Natasha Richardson, the late great.
Flubber.
Oh, yeah.
Starring the great Robin Williams.
Late great
Robin Williams. And I'm going to throw this movie out there because I love this movie.
Okay.
It's not as good as Home Alone.
Okay.
It's not the one that's going to come out of this is probably going to be. I feel like it's going to be Home Alone versus Vacation.
Okay. I'm with you.
But this movie, I just want to give a shout out.
Beethoven's second.
Baby's Day Out.
Oh gosh.
Did you ever see the movie Baby's Day Out?
Where it's like Baby Mr. Magoo and the baby's, it's
Exactly.
basically like an old cartoon.
It is.
The baby's like going
wonderful.
between girders and stuff.
This movie was
Right?
introduced to me by, it's Mr. Magoo. It like walks across a construction site.
Mr. Magoo Goo Gaga.
Boo. Get out of my apartment.
I'm leaving.
It was,
Can't fire me. I quit.
so the premise of the movie is, there is a baby has a book that's called Baby's Day Out that the mother, played by Lara Flynn Boyle, reads to the baby. And it says all the different places in the city that the baby goes. And, the baby apparently who has like, reading comprehension and retention at this infancy age.
Yeah.
Leaves the apartment, and goes on this adventure where the baby wants to go see all these places, which include a construction site, the zoo. Now,
1970s Times Square.
right, exactly. Now, all of this is happening while three bumbling burgers, are
Hamburgers?
burglars. Did I say burgers?
You did say burgers.
I meant burglars. Three I don't even remember if they're burglars or if they're kidnappers, because they're rich. The family is very wealthy and I think they want to kidnap the baby.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're three, I'm reading this now, three enterprising kidnappers who pretend to be photographers from the newspaper.
Enterprising.
Yeah, enterprising. They successfully kidnap the baby, whose name is Bink, but then they have a hard time keeping hold of the baby once they have kidnapped the baby, as this baby now decides, well, now that I'm out of the house, thanks to these kidnappers, I'm going to go on these adventures. And the beauty of this movie is, the three burglars played by, Brian Haley, Joey Pants, Joe Pantoliano, and Joe Mantegna as the ringleader.
Wow.
It's a great cast. the best, Aaron Abrams introduced me to this movie when we were in college, and he was like, you got to watch Baby's Day Out. I was like, man, I don't know. He's like, just trust me. The best thing about this movie is it's Wile E. Coyote. It's Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
Right.
And every time there is an antic that ends horribly for the bad guys, it ends horribly for, so Joe Mantegna plays Eddie, and the other two are Norby and Vico. It ends horribly for Vico, horribly for Norby, and then a million times worse for Joe Mantegna as Eddie. So like when the other two guys fall off a building, Joe Mantegna falls off a building and hits every rung of the fire escape on the way down. At one point, the baby, they're hiding the baby under a blanket from a cop that shows up, and the baby just takes a lighter that he finds in one of their pockets to Joe Mantegna's crotch, and Joe Mantegna getting his junk lit on fire while trying to talk to a cop who does not know he's hiding a kidnapped baby under his blanket is a masterclass in over-the-top comedy performance. This movie is so funny. It is, watch it with junk food. Don't just sit down on the floor with a pile of junk food and watch this movie and you'll have a great time.
Okay. You sold me on it.
Yeah.
I'll watch it with you. We'll watch it
We
together.
will watch this movie together. But that's probably not going to beat Home Alone because Home Alone is just the better version of that.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Home Alone or Vacation?
Gosh.
Is that what it comes down to?
Yes, it does. And they're two very, Vacation is a more important film to me because it's maybe the first comedy I ever remember watching.
Oh, wow.
That I watched when I was like 7.
Man.
My parents showed it to me.
Your parents really did not care about the rating system that the Motion Picture Academy has put out.
They used their own discretion. I thought it was hilarious, so funny. And as I've grown up, I appreciate more and more of the humor in it. It's such an iconic film. I think of it as a Harold Ramis movie more than I think of it as a John Hughes movie.
Interesting. And now, do you think of Home Alone as a Chris Columbus movie?
No, I never think of, and not that I don't enjoy the work of Christopher Columbus. I like 9 Months just as much as the next guy. But there's something that feel like you would almost go, John Hughes didn't direct Home Alone? Because it hits those notes.
It feels like a John Hughes movie.
It's his voice.
But man,
that we came to know. Honed at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think objectively speaking, which is what we try to do on this show.
Yes.
I think objectively Home Alone is more of a John Hughes movie and is the more, universally revered film. There's not a moment in that movie and it doesn't, and Vacation, while it does have all of that heart, you feel Clark Griswold and his love for his family and Beverly D'Angelo's trying to hold this thing together.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was Marge Simpson before Marge Simpson was Marge Simpson.
100%.
But yeah, it does. It feels like a Chevy Chase movie or a Harold Ramis movie. And Home Alone feels like a John Hughes movie.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we have our contender. We have 2 of the 3 contenders already. How deep into this episode are we?
We're probably about 25 minutes in.
Oh, this is not going to be long.
No, it's a good time to take a break.
Let's do it.
And then when we come back, we'll go through the 8 films.
Wow.
He only directed 8 movies, and yet
everyone knows his name.
Everyone knows his name. He's like Norm.
We'll be right back.
I can't hear myself, but I'm assuming that.
These are real podcast listeners, not actors.
Hey, thanks for coming. Here's a list of descriptors. What would you choose to describe the perfect podcast?
I mean, vulgarity.
Dumb. Definitely dumb.
And right here, this one, meritless.
What if I told you there was a podcast that did have all of that?
No.
Jordan Jesse Go. And it's free.
Jordan Jesse Go?
Jordan Jesse Go.
Jordan Jesse Go, a real podcast.
Beloved Maximum Fun Star Trek podcast, The Greatest Generation, is going out on tour.
We are bringing Greatest Gen Con to a bunch of cities in the U.S. and Canada. It's our big tribute to / send-up of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And we have a big leg coming up.
Yes, we are raising our legs on a number of cities in the coming weeks.
We're going to Washington, D.C. on August 23rd, the Bell House in Brooklyn, New York on August 24th, Mass Mocha in North Adams, Massachusetts on August 25th, Pittsburgh on the 28th, Boston, Massachusetts at the Wilbur Theater on the 29th, Atlanta, Georgia at the Earl on the 30th, Ferndale, Michigan at the Magic Bag on the 31st.
Those are some great big rooms and some great big cities, Ben.
And it's a really fun show. It's accessible even if you haven't listened to the podcast yet.
We can't wait to see you when we're out on tour. Check greatestgencon.com for dates and ticketing information.
And Khan is spelled K-H-A-N because Wrath of Khan. Greatest Gen, KHAN.com.
8 movies.
8 movies. Directed by John Hughes.
I'll give them to you.
We've already talked about 2 of them briefly. We've mentioned 2 of them.
Let me give them to you in chronological order.
Is this easier? Is this
This
easier
is his
for
filmography.
you?
I like it.
You're looking at some very long text document that you keep
looking-
having to scroll through. I'm just looking at pictures of movie posters.
This is Kate McManus's crack research that she put together.
Kate McManus, we love you.
We love you, Kate. Here
I'm not saying, and I don't want. Now I feel bad for saying that.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, I have it on a phone, so it wasn't meant to be viewed on a phone, but
all right.
I'm good. Here we go. This is the first film he directed out of the gate, 16 Candles in 1984.
Man, what a debut.
Then in 1985, The Breakfast Club.
Mm-hmm.
Followed also in 1985 by Weird Science.
Man, what a trio in 2 years.
Yep. Then number 4, Ferris Bueller's Day Off in 86. Followed in 87 by Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. 88 is She's Having a Baby. 89, Uncle Buck. 1991, Curly Sue, the last film he would direct.
All of these are great movies.
Yes, they are. Can we agree that both Curly Sue and She's Having a Baby are not going to make it?
Yes. But I would like to say about Curly Sue.
Yes.
I thought that movie was so sweet and charming and fun when I saw that as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Jim Belushi, that was the first time. That and Mr. Destiny, was that the baseball one that he did?
Yes.
I thought he was, and like, you know, Jim Belushi is, people make jokes about Jim Belushi because of how amazingly wonderful his brother was.
Right.
And because he does not have the benefit, he has the misfortune of not being John.
Correct.
But I've always really liked him. I thought he was great in Curly Sue. I thought he was great in Mr. Destiny. I thought he was great as Bonnie Hunt's husband in Return to Me.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a really affable, when he's playing an affable doofus, he's really good at it.
He's a talented guy, very funny,
Mm-hmm.
good in this movie. The little girl who plays Curly Sue,
Allison Porter,
also great.
had an amazing resurgence, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. So Allison Porter, we used to go to a
cabaret.
No, a karaoke bar.
Okay.
And she ran a karaoke night at a bar that was a lot of fun. And you know how like the people that whoever runs a karaoke bar will get up periodically and sing. Was
Sure.
an amazing singer. And Allison, like, and I remember when we would go to this, people were like, "That's the girl that played Curly Sue," and we always thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And she has since performing in Curly Sue, she became, she went on, what show was it that she went on? I'm trying to find it right now. It was, one of the singing shows, one of the, The Voice.
The Voice. Oh, she was on The Voice.
She went on The Voice as a contestant and crushed it. She's an amazing singer, which is a cool thing to find out about this kid actor who grew up to be just an epically great singer.
Right.
So wanted to just say I think they're both awesome.
100%.
And they were the heart of that movie, obviously, but Curly Sue is not going to be the victor.
They stand among giants.
Yes, that's the thing. She's Having a Baby has the same problem. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I do not remember ever seeing She's Having a Baby.
Yep. The one I remember is, there's another one. He Said, She Said, the one he did, that was Kevin Bacon and, Elizabeth Perkins. I remember that one a lot more. Oh. And I also remember For Keeps with Molly Ringwald, where she is a teenager who gets pregnant and they move into like some weird industrial apartment and they just have like a shower in the middle of the room by itself. There's no bathroom. There's just a shower in the middle of the room, which I thought was like, who lives here? It seems dirty.
I'm going to go back to this R-rated theater.
Yeah, I have to go back and see boobies on screen. Can't deal with this dirty shower.
Not to get too adult on our family-friendly show.
Yes.
First time you see boobies in a movie as a kid is pretty exciting.
It's very eye-opening.
All right, I'm going to end it at that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Let's talk about these movies. I'm also should we just start eliminating them and then giving them their due as we eliminate them? We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. May I start?
Please.
I'm going to eliminate 16 Candles.
Wow.
It is a great film. It captures so much about what it is to feel ignored or feel invisible whether you're in a family and it's your sister's wedding and you just feel overshadowed by everything, even though the weight of being a teenager and all of that.
It's a beautiful movie.
Beautiful, but there are some problematic things.
And stars one of our guests on the show.
Yes, it does. Paul Dooley. Yes, he's fantastic in it. The issue is, let's just start with Long Duck Dong and you can end it right there.
Yeah.
Hilarious, great performance. And yet, for the time that it came out, that was not the same issue it is now.
Right.
However, there are other films in the John Hughes canon that don't have as cringy moments in them. And for that reason, I would remove it from the running, but still say it is a seminal film and that there are a lot of very important parts to it. And it's a great cast. Very young Robert Downey Jr. is in it. Anthony Michael Hall is fantastic in it.
Yeah.
And Molly Ringwald is,
she's perfect in it.
She's superb. She's so talented as an actor. And at that young of an age, she gave very mature performances in all the films that she was in. That's sort of like a hallmark of her as a performer.
Well, don't worry. She's still in this. It's Molly Ringwald and we're talking about John Hughes.
Yes.
She's still in there.
She will return.
Yeah, she will return. Now I realize that, and maybe it's not fair of us but we do this a lot. We look at older things through a 2018 lens.
Sure.
And I think for similar reasons, even though it's not an amazing, funny, hilarious, great movie starring Anthony Michael Hall, Kelly LeBrock, and Elon Mitchell Smith.
Yeah.
Weird Science is about two guys who just make a lady.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
It's not the most Bechdel friendly movie.
Certainly not. Certainly not. It treats women as objects.
Right.
And it makes it
really
so
funny.
It's like, so the height of their existence is to have sex with a lady.
Right.
And to build
Which
a lady
when you're
who
that
wants sex with
age,
them. I get that. I get that as a driving thing in youth.
And sex has been used as comedy fodder for as long as there have been people, laughs, and sex.
Yeah. And I don't say this for we should burn every print of this movie and it should go away. Certainly if you watch it, you should be aware that this is part of, you can't go into it thinking this is going to be totally okay and everything that they do will translate. What eliminates it, I agree with you, is the fact that, again, this is not his best. There are better movies. There are better movies in his canon that we have not yet touched on.
All right, you're next.
Oh man! So we've eliminated three.
We've already eliminated four. Curly Sue, she's having a baby. Weird Science, and 16 Candles.
So that leaves Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Breakfast Club, and Uncle Buck. I gotta cut Uncle Buck here.
I know. I was going to say it too.
Another great John Candy performance, and I watched it again recently. I watched it twice again recently, and it's shorter than you think it would be.
I have never noticed that.
In terms of how it all resolves and how it moves very swiftly. Laurie Metcalf has a great little bit as the horny neighbor. Amy Madigan as Buck's longtime. No, it's not. It's what is it? Who is it? It's Jean Louise Kelly.
Jean Louisa
Kelly. My mistake. My apologies.
From Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
She's great.
She's so good. She
And may I
grounds
say,
the movie.
a lovely person.
Yeah?
She did a charity event and was wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah.
That makes me very happy to hear.
Great lady.
A young Macaulay Culkin. This was the reason why he got Home Alone.
I did not know that.
Yes.
I mean, I remember him in the movie. I'm a kid. That's my job.
Yep.
Yeah. That was just the exchange, like Uncle Buck looking at Macaulay Culkin's character and talking to him as an adult.
Yep.
It's really refreshing to see an adult character talk to kids the way that Uncle Buck did.
Yeah.
And the way that he talked to, the girl on the show, played by Gabby Hoffman.
Yes. The little
Amazing.
daughter. Yeah. It's so good. It's such a great tale of Buck learning to become a responsible adult and learning the value. Really, to me, ultimately, that film is about the value of family.
Yeah. And that's such a John Hughes thing.
Yes. Not only his realizing how important his family is to him, but his brother and sister-in-law learning how important he is. Like, you can't just sweep him under the rug.
Yeah.
Because they need him. You know, he's sort of out of the picture. He's barely ever there. They don't invite him because he's an embarrassment until they need him and they're desperate. Mm-hmm. And that's why he's there.
And he's, again, John Hughes knew how to use John Candy's talents.
Yeah.
Cause he's so funny and he can play so funny and so sad.
Yeah.
At the same time. And it is, oh man. That said, I think the 3 movies that we have left, this is going to be hard.
Yes.
We have, and we can stop doing the eliminate one by one now.
Okay,
because
good.
we've got Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and The Breakfast Club.
Can I ask, you were going to eliminate The Breakfast Club, weren't you?
I was.
Oh, I can't. I
know. And that was why I stopped. I was like, I don't want to eliminate The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
But Planes, Trains, to me personally, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Ferris Bueller's Day Off meant more. But I realized, and that's why I stopped it, I realized The Breakfast Club might be the quintessential John Hughes movie. Because he deals with youth better than any other writer-director. And here are all of the archetypes of youth in one room, and he takes these archetypes. You've got the rebel, the jock, the nerd, the pretty popular girl, the
weirdo,
the dark weirdo. Like, you've got this group of misfits, maybe not even misfits in their own, you don't even think of them as misfits. You think of them as archetypes, but once they get together, you realize that everyone is a misfit. Yes. And that kind of is the beauty of what John Hughes did for his entire career, was everybody's a misfit. Nobody is great. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, everyone is flawed, but nobody is great, but everybody can be good. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's there's such great stillness in the movie.
Yeah.
Because they're forced to go to detention where they're supposed to be quiet. So the way that plays out, the silent moments are so great. And the overall idea of the film, you know, when you're a teenager and even in your 20s and even a little younger, you're constantly looking for identity. So
right.
you find these groups and you find these easy definitions, you know, as they put in their letter at the very end. That's how other people define them. But they're all, you learn and they learn how much they have in common, even though they're different from one another. And that they're all, everybody's got a little bit of everything in them, and that you can be a 3-dimensional complete person and not have to conform to one idea. Whether or not, we never know afterwards whether they go back to their lives the way they were, even though they say it won't be that way.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. It's not the point.
No.
The point is the experience that they have and what that means. Like, that's just a movie I identify with in a very deep way. Every time I watch it, I'm just sort of pulled in.
And there's not a bad performance in that movie.
No.
I mean, they're all at the top of their very young game.
Yes.
And they're all, like, everyone went on to be a superstar. Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, Emilio Estevez, and Anthony Michael Hall. Yeah. As the big 5 in that.
And Paul Gleason is so great.
Paul Gleason is the best foil ever.
Yeah.
Because, he's, and like I said, I don't want to eliminate it. For me personally, this might be it.
Right. It might be.
You know what I mean? Like, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is such an amazing, fun, wonderful romp of a movie. And it's the only Thanksgiving movie, right? Are there other, I guess Home for the Holidays, is that Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
There's a
it's
few.
not really. Yeah.
It's the one we watch every year as our Thanksgiving movie.
Sure.
And Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a classic.
Let's talk about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay.
Because it is markedly different from the other two finalists in that it's not about teenagers.
Right.
It is about full-grown adults thrown together in the most hectic of circumstances, trying to make what normally would be like a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, and it takes them the duration of a movie and multiple days.
Yeah, and it's great performances by Steve Martin and John Candy together. They're a great team. Are there any flaws in this movie? I'm asking you. I'm not asking because I'm to set you up. What do you think?
Once again, that we've got this now that we are recognizing the lens of 2018,
right?
And we say this as two straight white dudes. Not a lot of color in a John Hughes movie.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But that, as unfortunate as it is, that's not an outlier. Like that's kind of a common denominator of all these movies. So we can't really.
Right.
We can't use that as a factor. I think its only flaw is that it's not, oh man.
I'm not trying to eliminate it. I'm just curious.
No, I know, but what popped into my head was its only flaw is it's not The Breakfast Club. You know what I mean? It's not iconically The Breakfast Club. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember every moment of it as well as I remember. I mean, I loved it. I always loved it growing up, and the characters are great. But yeah, it's just sort of capery. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
it's moving bit to bit.
Thank you. That's a great way of putting it. It moves bit to bit. So the deer in the car.
Yep.
One of the funniest scenes ever in a movie. Or when the guy is driving past and he's trying to tell them that there's a fire in the back. And John Candy just turns to the guy driving, or no, they're going the wrong way. That's what it was. John Candy, when he's another driver is saying, "You're going the wrong way," and he's like, and he does the little, "This guy's been drinking" face. Like, there's so many great little bits in that movie.
Yeah,
but the whole is wonderful. The sum of the parts is wonderful, but I don't know if the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. If I'm finding any flaw in it,
right?
You know what I mean?
Okay, well, let's stick a pin in it for now.
Okay.
And let's talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Right.
I mean, this film is, of these three movies, this film probably has the most iconic,
lines,
more iconic moments, more iconic lines. Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
You're Abe Froman. Life moves pretty fast. Like that, the whole, what is it? Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around in a while, you might miss it.
Yep. And then, when Cameron was in Egypt land, let my Cameron go. It's so like
the car out and Cameron's the one who has the arc in this movie.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Ferris Bueller does not change really beginning to end.
No.
As a character. He's always the ideal, perfect thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Mia Sara as, it's Mia Sara, right?
Yes.
Mia Sara as his girlfriend.
Yep.
Is always perfect and kind. I mean, there are moments where they get a little deeper where they talk about their lives and family beyond what graduation is going to be. But the person who has an arc in this movie is Cameron.
100%.
And that scene toward the end where they destroy the car, where Cameron kicks the car, it falls off of the jack that it's on and goes out the window.
Yeah.
Cameron, after that scene, it's great.
Yeah. The idea that he's like, my father's going to have to deal with me.
Yeah.
How deep you see him grow courage. He's miles removed from the hypochondriac who thinks he's going to die all the time.
Right.
And Yeah, Ferris Bueller is our host for the movie.
Yeah.
More than he is the star. Jennifer Grey is fantastic.
Jennifer Grey is, like the other characters in that movie. Jennifer Grey and Jeffrey Jones and Jeffrey Jones as the villain.
Yeah.
The principal in that is perfect. And Jennifer Grey, the moment when Jennifer Grey, who has hated Ferris Bueller for this whole thing, decides that she hates the principal more. What's his name? What's the principal's name in that?
He's Ed
Rooney. Ed
Yeah.
Rooney. Let me look. Yeah. Yes, Ed Rooney. When she's like, you know what? He's still my brother, and screw this guy, Ed Rooney, for doing all of this stuff to hurt my brother.
Yeah.
I'm going to team up with Ferris, and his just look of awe when she winks at him at the end is, we've spoiled everything for all of these movies if people haven't seen them.
Listen, that movie's been out for 32 years. Yeah. You should have seen it by now.
Also, the triple kick to the face.
Yes.
Is one of the funniest sight gags when she opens the door, sees Ed Rooney, screams, and then kicks him three times in the face. Charlie Sheen is amazing.
It's one of his best roles.
He's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to, I'm going to say this. I feel like we love planes, trains, and automobiles.
Sure.
I think it's going to be Ferris Bueller's Day Off or The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Now, does the amount of moved that you get by The Breakfast Club, I feel like it's the moving nature of The Breakfast Club versus the insane, ideal, pure fun. I mean, for God's sake, he gets up and sings Twist and Shout to an entire parade.
Yep.
Like, it's not realistic.
No.
The realistic John Hughes, really funny, really heartfelt high school movie.
Right.
Or the madcap John Hughes, laugh a second, iconic. That's what it feels like is the battle.
To me, there's something
I'm happy with either one, by the way.
Yeah, me too. There's something about John Hughes that when I think of him, the first thing I think of is The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
That is his, even though Ferris Bueller is filled with iconic moments, The Breakfast Club is like an iconic film, and it plays out for me almost like a play.
Yeah.
Like something you would watch on stage, and that makes it feel like a collaborative.
It's complete.
Yeah. There's something about it that feels more personal than anything else. That may not be true. That may just be my perception because of my attachment to it.
Right.
But it just feels like that is not only the best John Hughes film, but it is the most John Hughes film.
Yeah. I think we got there.
We did.
Just like a John Hughes
about
film.
it.
I feel content. It doesn't feel, this is not a long episode.
No.
He only directed 8 movies.
That's right. We were able to get through
wait. No. Hold on a second.
Uh-oh. Beethoven?
So now there are 3 movies in contention.
All right. We've got Beethoven. Home
Alone. And The Breakfast Club. Okay. I'll go first.
Okay.
I think I have to eliminate Home Alone.
Ooh.
So it's up to you.
Why do you have to stick me with the hard ones?
Beethoven or The Breakfast Club?
Beethoven or The Breakfast Club. They both start with the letter B.
Sure. One has more words, though.
Yeah. And more dogs.
Well,
the other one has more dogs.
2 different movies. The other one has more
dogs. Breakfast Club doesn't have Charles Grodin in it.
No. So it wins?
You know what? I don't even know why. Just for craziness. Let's go with The Breakfast Club.
I think you're right.
People of the world. Wait, I want to get this right. Dear people of the world, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Tuesday evening in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. What we did was wrong, but we think you're crazy to make us record a podcast choosing between John Hughes films. You see those movies as you want to see them, in the simplest terms, the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of them is a pair of teenagers building a sex robot.
Jim Belushi running around town with a little orphan kid.
A deadbeat uncle learning to be a responsible adult.
That same deadbeat uncle on a plane, a train, and in an automobile with a wild and crazy guy.
Elizabeth McGovern and Kevin Bacon in a movie I don't know if I ever saw.
A day off.
Some candles.
And a group of misfits who find out that they have more in common than they thought originally. That answer your question?
Sincerely yours. Asked and answered. Colette, thank you for that
Thank
topic.
you for the topic, Colette. That was really fun.
Yeah, that was a great topic. There are so many others. We have a whole list, but we want you to add to that list all the time. Always be adding. ABA.
Yeah, ABA.
Here's how you do that. You can email us at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com or go to our Facebook group. Tell us your favorite John Hughes films and moments there. We can't wait to talk to you about it. Facebook.com/groups/WeGotThisPodcast or
reach out to us on Twitter at WeGotThisTweets or check out the Maximum Fun subreddit. Who knows? A flame war could be happening right now.
I hope not. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus for lovingly putting together that list that I read off my phone. I didn't even do it justice.
I know. Thank you, Kate.
Yes. Graphic designer Uri Kelman and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, as always, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, our listeners. You know those feelings you get when you watch a John Hughes movie? Those are the feelings I get knowing that all of you are out there listening to this show and giving Hal and I an opportunity to do this once a week. So we love you and we thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Listener supported.